Hello all, welcome to the VoIP Traffic Analysis course on Pentester Academy. Now in this video, we will continue with SIP over TLS and RTP and look at how we can patch the pcap2wav utility to actually support extraction of audio from pcap files which contain SIP over TLS and RTP. So let's jump right in. Now in the last video, what we had seen is that with T-Shark, by applying the option -D for decode as, we can actually assist it in identifying RTP traffic, especially when SIP over TLS is involved, and then decode it normally. So this part is important. Now, let's actually look at the pcap2wav.sh program. So we already know that pcap2wav.sh, if you try to run it against any of these pcaps, is actually going to fail, right? So if you were to open up the file, and you can use any text editor you like, and search for T-Shark. So this is just in the comment part. Now looks like here is the first T-Shark command being used. Locate RTP streams put into temp file, okay? So this is really locating RTP streams and putting it into a temp file. Then over here, some payload based analysis is actually happening. And then finally over here, payload extraction is actually happening, right? So we see that there are really 3 active T-Shark commands, and depending on however the logic is flowing, they may or may not get called. The most important thing to realize here is that if in each of these places we make sure that T-Shark understands how to decode the traffic as RTP, then I would actually assume that rest of it should just work fine, just like in the case of Wireshark. So if we actually go back to the very top, what we notice is that the target file, the cap file, all of these are being taken here as input. Now, if you've done a bit of bash scripting, then you immediately identify that $2 is really the second argument. This is the third argument. So they're checking if -Z was mentioned. If it is so, then this is the order in which rest of the arguments are picked up. If not, then this is it. So why don't we do the following? Let's actually add a third argument and call it T-Shark filter. So I'm going to use uppercase here. T-Shark filter. I'm going to say this is equal to $4 in this case if -Z is used. And T-Shark filter is going to be equal to $3 if -Z is not used. Now all I have to do is basically copy this and then now go to the 3 places where T-Shark is used. Here is the first place, and I'm actually going to paste it here. Well, in reality it's not, I couldn't call it really a filter per se, so why don't I just say T-Shark decode. Okay, my bad, I apologize, but calling it a filter is actually going to be technically wrong. So let's just call it T-Shark decode, right? Because we are going to do a decode as operation. So T-Shark decode. Let's find the next T-Shark. It's right here. Going to add the same thing in there. That's going to be T-Shark decode. Forgot the $sign in here. And then we go down to the last one. which is right here, $T-shark decode, right? I think this is it. You can verify that by doing a cat pcap2wav grep T-shark. We actually see that here are the 3 lines. Okay, so barring any typo, now what we should be able to do is the following: pcap2wav normal call two parties dot pcap. So I'm going to call the output file normal call, and now I'm actually going to put in that decode as option. So within quotes -d -z udp dot port equals 4000 comma RTP. Oops, my bad, it's actually -d. It's not Z, it's D. D for decode. And there we go. Beautifully, pcap2wav now manages to understand the file and is able to go ahead and decode and extract the different streams out, right? Fantastic. Let's actually verify it's actually working by using our good friend Audacity. Okay, so let's click on File, Import Audio, and normal call. We are in that directory. So I'm going to select all the 4 wave files, click Open, hit play.
This is caller 1. Welcome to Pentester Academy.
Right, fantastic.
This is caller 2. Welcome to Pentester Academy.
And of course, you know, in a 2-caller, 2 streams are of course going to be identical to each other, right? Because the server really is just proxying the stream from one agent to the other, right? One client to the other. Fantastic. Now let's actually verify this for the other 2 files that we have. So let's look at call to voicemail. Let's call this voicemail. Okay, it perfectly detects that there are 2 streams and it is extracting both streams. Fantastic. Great. Now keep in mind something I didn't mention in previous videos. Sometimes when things are not too complicated, pcap2wav can also combine both of them in a single wave file, right? So keep this in mind. Finally, let's actually run the conference call, 3 parties. Okay. Now, interestingly, it says T-shark an error occurred while printing packets broken pipe. But the good news is it still continues to rip out all the 6 streams, right? So that might warrant, you know, some looking at and seeing what is really happening. But for what it's worth, you know, everything else seems to be working, at least the extraction part. So I'm going to have you guys do that extra work. Right? The best part of being an instructor, make sure that you give all the difficult things for your students to do as homework, home labs. I'm just kidding. But as we can see beautifully, now pcap2wav will work for SIP over TLS plus RTP. Now, these kind of demos are the best. I mean, I really enjoy doing them because it proves that how if you're over reliant on just running a tool, you know, how you could pretty much not be able to do any small modification. And that is really well understanding how the tools are working internally gives you the power to at least be able to patch them if, you know, not too much of work is really required. Like in this case, all we did was added an extra option to T-shark, right? Now, the reason I kept this external and didn't hard code it in the script is because the UDP port might change from circumstance to circumstance, right? Of course, we could have always done -d udp.port equals and put that into the file every place where we currently have T-shark decode and only taken the port number as input. But there could be a case where you may want to chain multiple decode as options, right? What happens if there are different port numbers for each of the clients which you've discovered? So in that case, it might actually be important to chain decode as. Now, if you want to learn more about T-shark and all of this fun stuff, I would recommend looking at the T-shark class on Pentester Academy, where I explain all of these things in great detail, including how to extract fields and whatnot. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please recommend us to your friends and colleagues. Thank you.